Hello everybody and welcome back to Amazing Tech for All. Today we're going to be looking at setting up a web server on an Ubuntu web server or an Ubuntu server. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we have an Ubuntu server. If you need instructions on how to set one up, I will post a link to the video on how to do that. How to set up an Ubuntu server in a virtual environment. So you may wonder, why would you want to set up a web server? Well, every website that you go to actually has a web server behind it. So this is the place where the website lives. So if you are interested in building your own website, it is maybe a good idea to have your own web server running so that you can do your testing on it. So let's take a look at what a web server is. Let's maximize that and then go to web server. So if we look at the definition of a web server, it's a system that delivers web content to users over the internet. So here's a nice graph. Maybe we can take a look at the images. Here we go. So this is a nice example. Your request for a website will take it into the internet, and then it will go to the appropriate place where you will find the website. For example, I have a website on aquarium fish. So if I go aquarium fish.co.za, it will take me to my website where there is aquarium fish. So it takes you to my server. So the same as the request over here, this was my application, my web browser. It made a request. The request went through the internet. It got to my web server, and then the server responded it back onto the internet and back to my browser. And that will apply for every button that you click. So for example, if I click on fish, it will take me to, it will do exactly the same thing, and it will deliver the content back. So let's take a look and see the server that we are going to be using. Let's go. Let's just minimize this, and let's go to, here we have a server. So this is a Ubuntu 24.04 server. I'll log in. It'll be, now what we need is the IP address of the server. So we'll do C-BRA, and that is 192.168.122.21. So if we go to my my browser again, and we type that address in, firstly, let's see if we can reach it. Ping 192.168.122.21. Yes, we can reach it. So if we go to the web browser, let's see if we can reach it from here, 192.168.122.21. And we see that we do not, there's no web server that's answering on that IP address. So, but we're going to do a shell script. We're going to SSH to that machine and then go through the procedure on how to install it. So I'm going to log in, SSH -L, and the username, user1, and it'll be 192.168.122.21. Yes, we'll type in yes to accept the fingerprint, and we'll type in the password for that user. Right. So the first thing we need to do is update the repositories. So we'll do a sudo su, which makes me super user. Yes, and we will go apt update. This will update the repository. So let's go apt install Apache2. Yes. So now we are able to It's going to install Apache. It will start it. We can take a look and see when it's up and running. And then we can take another look at the browser and see if the web server is available now. So let's go system ctl status Apache. Maybe Apache2. There we go. So you can see the system is up and running. There's one little, not an error, but a warning that it can't find a fully qualified domain name. So a domain name is something like a .com or .co.za, like in my case, but it will show you the domain. Right, so if you press Q, that'll give us that'll take us back to the terminal or the command. So here we can go back to this window over here, and if we try again, what do we see? Still, let me just refresh this page. Okay, it does look like the right address. Is it 21 IP minus BRA? It is 122.21. It is the right address. I think I know what the problem is. It attempted to put the HTTPS in the beginning, or did it? Yes, it did. So it's only on HTTP in this case. There we go. So now we have an Ubuntu web server running. Now that is very, very convenient, because now we can go and put content of our own liking over there. So if I wanted to change that page and go to where it's normally hosted, it'll be www and HTML. So sorry, cd, sorry, that's one W too many, and this is where it is. So if I want to do, say, I'll make a test machine or a test file here, vi. Most people would use nano. I'm not a big fan of nano, but let's go that way. Let's see, test .html, right? So it's .html. So if I sorry, I'm thinking vi. I go h1 and I'll say here, this is a test web page, and I'll close the h1 tag. And maybe I'll make a p tag for a paragraph and just say, we would like to teach you how to build a website. Now let's close the p tag, lowercase p, yes. So now it's Control X. It'll say, yes, you want to save it, yes. And that's the file name you want to save it to, which will be test.html. So now if we go back to our web browser and we type in at the end of this a /test.html. So there we go. You can see that the page is now served up by our newly created web server. So now, one of the things, though, the internet runs on a variety of languages, and a useful scripting language is PHP. About 45% to 50% of the internet is currently running on PHP. Well, maybe that's a conservative number. I actually think it's a lot higher. Anyway, so we can actually take a quick look and see what percentage of the internet uses PHP. Let's see, maybe there's 75% approximately. So that's a much higher number than I expected. Okay, so let's see. So we would need to install PHP onto the server in order for it to work. So if I created a little PHP file inside the folder we were at, we can see if it serves it up appropriately. Right, so let's do that. And the file is, sorry, we're going to do nano again. PHP info. This could be anything. You can name it anything. I'm just following convention, and I will say to open the PHP tag, and here we will type in PHP info. Yes, and we will make a semicolon there. That looks right. And then we will close the PHP tag. And this is Control X again, and we will save it. Yes, okay. So now if I go back to my browser and I go to this page over here and I remove this and I put in a PHP info .php, what will happen? Nothing. Nothing is showing because this web server doesn't understand PHP yet. So let's teach it a bit of PHP. So the first thing we have to do is install PHP, apt install PHP. But we will also need to install the Apache library for PHP, lib mod. Let's see quickly. This is lib Apache 2, yes, mod dash PHP. There's a bunch of other stuff that's necessary for PHP as well, but we'll just do this quickly and just see if this does any works. Let's do the once the installation is finished, we'll have to restart Apache. I'll show you how to do that quickly as well. Okay, so here we go, and now we will type in systemctl restart Apache2. Okay, let's go see if this makes any difference. I might have made a mistake somewhere. There we go. So you can see after we just reloaded that page, the web browser, the web server now understands how to serve up a PHP file. As you can tell, it tells us about all the functionality that's available in PHP already. So, but now you've got a way of scripting, but you don't have a place to store your data. So for example, most websites has a database. So if I had to say what is the most popular database used on the internet, let's see. Let's go there, and it is MySQL. So we will include MySQL in the installation here. So let's do that. Let's go back here, and we're going to add apt install MySQL/server. And we want to be able to manage it with PHP. Let me just see quickly if we can do this on our own. Yes, we'll first do this on its own. Yes, because there's one or two little things we have to do before we can continue on. All right. Okay, that shouldn't take too much longer. Let's just see. And the installation is almost finished, and there we go. So now I need to, because I am the root user, let's first see if MySQL is running. So we'll do systemctl status MySQL. It's running. It is active. Yes, it is running. So server is operational. That looks good. It's just, so now we need to secure the installation. So it's just MySQL _secure installation. You may notice that sometimes it looks like I type very quickly. It's actually because I do a tab, and then it will autocomplete if it's a unique command. So the answer to this is yes. In fact, for all of this is just yes. Well, I'm going to make it low in this case, so just because I want it to be simple. And that's a yes, yes, and yes. Okay, and yes. So if I type in MySQL -u, the root, which is the super user, I can log in without a problem. So one of the issues that we have is that we need to have a password for root. You may have noticed didn't ask for a password. If I had to quit MySQL like that with that command, the \q, and I go up one arrow and I type in -p, even if no matter, I don't have a password for root, so it will just fail. Oh, let me in anyway. Anyway, so I'm going to set a password for root now. Let's see, alter user root at localhost, right, with MySQL underscore native. I think it's underscore, I can't remember. Let's see, native password by, sorry, I think the year is identified with by, and here's my password, very secure. Let's do something simple. Let's see if that takes. Oh, it's not a minus, it's underscore. So I've got to repeat the command, but I'm just going to copy and paste it this time around. So I've got to do underscores, I think. Let's confirm that. Yes. So now, let's see. My password is, yes, that's so. MySQL, and if I type in PASS word 1 2 3 4, yes, perfect. So now I can see show databases, and it will list all the databases. Perfect. So let's quit out of this. Now we would like to be able to administer the databases with a web interface. So let's do that. So I'm going to install apt install phpMyAdmin. This will install a bunch of other stuff that PHP needs to run websites on. So there we go. This is very, very convenient. There might be one or two other additional things for PHP we may need to install, but the primary thing that is necessary is PHP must be able to speak to MySQL. So here, the web server is Apache that we are using. So it's going to make an Apache PHP configuration change, and it's going to make it available. So we'll just, all this have to do is add phpMyAdmin to the end of the IP address, and then you'll be able to see the, yes, that's fine. The password for phpMyAdmin, we will just make it same as before. Okay, so as you can see, we are now seeing the login screen for phpMyAdmin. So all we have to do is type in the root password, that's the root user, and there we have a way to manage our database using a web interface. This is using Apache or phpMyAdmin to look at our databases. Here's a list of the pre-configured databases. So all we need to do is create a new database by giving it a name. Say, let's say test database, and create. Okay. Name of the first table. We'll have to get rid of these errors at some point. Okay, we'll create a user account for that. We already have a test database. We'll just create a table with 4 columns. You can call it a test table as well. Let's just figure that one out. And there we have our 4 columns. We can give it names and values and so on. We will show this in a future video. In the meantime, if you like what we've done here so far, please like and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.